Ed came into my life when I was 18. He told me that if I would go to the gym for 2 hours, that would help me get to the body that he felt that I should have. He would tell me that I wasn't pretty. He would tell me that I was fat. Often in a day, he would tell me I was fat. He was constantly checking my body out and picking probably every inch of it apart. Ed loved when I was exercising. I was working out to the extreme 6-7 days a week for 2 hours. I would not leave the gym until I burnt off X amount of calories. Well, Ed promised me that if I did everything that he told me to do and to follow everything to a T, that I would get thin and I would get more beautiful and more accepted by my friends and my family and, you know, peers, coworkers. There was times that Ed made me feel like crap, so to speak, made me feel extremely belittled and like I wasn't good enough. But then there was times the relationship was great because I was doing what he said for me to do and praising me and telling me I was doing a good job, and I was feeling accepted by Ed as well. And sometimes listening to Ed is, you know, it just feels good. Anyways, so when my daughter was born, after quite a few years, I was 24 when she was born, is when I started to realize I can't be doing these behaviors anymore, because it wasn't just about my life anymore. It was about my little girl's life. And I knew what I was doing wasn't healthy. As much as I didn't care to some degree, because I just wanted to look and feel a certain way. But I had another life that I needed to be here for. So I was able to control some of my behaviors and not falling into them. And that worked for a while. You know, like I'd go a few months, half a year or so without the behaviors, and then it would come back into me, and I would go to more extreme behaviors such as purging, and I was abusing such things as laxatives to the point I didn't even have any control over my bowels. I was losing a lot of weight quite fast, and I was starting to get recognized and noticed. So getting that praise and that recognition, it almost became like a heroine to me, because wow, you know, like I'm getting all this praise and these people don't really know what it is that I'm doing, but clearly whatever I'm doing is working to achieve, you know, that look that I felt that society has placed upon us. This is Ed, my eating disorder. I've had to kind of create and draw a picture of what I feel my eating disorder looks like. It's not really a face, but it's just a voice that's always in my head that I know isn't the right way of thinking. And I need to be able to recognize my eating disorder does not define who I am as a person. And I need to break free of my eating disorder and to discover who Tasha is again, and not who Tasha is with Ed.
I didn't even know I had an eating disorder. So I mean, I didn't even know that I had that addiction to food, or that I didn't even know anything about it. I thought it was a healthy way to get skinny and a healthy way to be accepted by the world. That's all I am trying to do, is be accepted by everybody around me, and it's hard. You know, I just want to be accepted, and I feel like every day I'm being this fake girl, and I don't want to be fake anymore.
I remember when I first kind of thought that I might have an eating disorder. It was the summer going into grade 7. And we had a pool. I lived with my mom and her new boyfriend, and we had a pool, and I would swim laps after everything that I ate. And I didn't even think anything of it at the time. I would just eat something and then I'd be like, okay, I'm eating a healthy salad, so I'm going to swim 100 laps, right? And then people started to take notice of my weight loss and was just commenting that I looked good. It's like one of those things where you start harmlessly making healthy choices, and then all of a sudden it's like you fall into a trap. And before you know it, it's like this downward spiral, because I was ensnared and entrapped in it before I even realized what it was. So even though people could have told me it was harmful, it was almost, I was just hearing their concern and being like, they love me, they care about me. I had this deep need for acceptance, and I used it to get those little things.
So with eating disorders as well, is that often rules are developed around food, around activity. With that, Ed likes to control the person. Ed makes, promises. Things are going to be better and you're going to be happy and everything is just going to be so great if you, lose weight or if you control your body. Ed also likes to make you think that you can stop this at any time. And that is something that's just a choice. It's not an actual disorder. It's not. I find that people may not be able to control their emotions or circumstances with a relationship, stressors at work or school, but they can control their body. They can control their intake. And so it really does deliver this message that they're in control when really they're not. It's Ed's way of controlling them. So it's enlightening when you see people start to take control of their lives and they get that true control back.
An eating disorder isn't just about eating food and not eating food. It goes beyond that. It's more of control, a mental illness. To just tell somebody to eat or to stop their behaviors, it's not, I would love to, I would love to be able to just stop that easy, or, why didn't I think of a comment like that myself? That was just, it's not that easy. It's the same as telling a drug addict to stop using, or telling a cancer patient to stop having cancer. It just goes so much deeper. But coming out, it was scary at first because I didn't know how other people were gonna take to it and react to it. I mean, some people knew, a lot of people didn't. It's one thing with an eating disorder is we tend to hide a lot of our feelings, our behaviors, because we don't feel that we will be accepted or that we will be considered crazy, or, why are we doing this to ourselves? Why are we doing this to our family? Some people take it as vanity. Some people take it as being selfish. It's not that at all. We're not about vanity. It's not that we're just so self-absorbed. It really is a mental illness.
I go through it every 30 seconds, a minute of every day, every hour that I am awake. Now, I've been struggling with this for at least a good 10 years, and that's every day for 10 years, thinking, do I look okay? Is this shirt making me fat? Is this, am I fat? What is that person thinking? Is that person laughing at me? And it's a constant battle every day. So if you could sit back and you could just, think negative and bash yourself every minute, every day, it's draining. And people don't see that when I walk down the street, or if I'm somewhere, even if I were to go explain, this to somebody, they don't see it on the outside. It's all to do with what's inside my head.
Because it starts in the mind. And all of a sudden I started hearing thoughts of exercise or go do this. It was like someone was talking to me. And it does sound crazy to think that there were two voices inside of my head. And at first there were. It was what I heard is my voice, and what I heard is this new voice, right? And at first it was disguised as this wonderful voice, oh, look, I can help you. I can help you lose weight. You just got to listen to me and play by my rules. And I was like, okay. And so followed it. And then before I knew it, it's like this voice that I thought was trying to help me was actually the one that was wanting to strangle me. And so the voice would literally talk to me and tell me what to eat, what not to eat. And then when I would eat something that I shouldn't have ate, it was so angry that I would literally want to like hurt myself or pinch my skin or pull my hair because I didn't know how to handle the fact that I felt like I'd put poison in my body. And so what started out as something that seemed to help me was actually a huge deception that I had just completely bought into. And eventually those negative voices were the only ones that I heard. And as I got skinnier and smaller, I became more and more childlike in my behaviors, and I couldn't take care of myself. And I loved that. I loved being sick because it forced my family to take care of me in the way that I wanted them to. And it's hard for me to admit this now, being where I'm at now, and to look back and see that I was actually like this. But yeah, I very much used my eating disorder to manipulate and control to get the type of love and acceptance that I thought that I desperately needed. Not that they didn't love me, and not that they didn't accept me because they did, I was their child. But it wasn't, I obviously wasn't receiving it in the way that I needed to.
When it comes to the overall change of the person's brain, it really is over a lengthy period of time, and a big piece has to do with just a knowledge base, learning something different, gaining an understanding of how your brain works, gaining an understanding of the connection between your brain and your body. When it comes to recovery, it really is changing your brain, per se, and how you think. The eating disorder is something that is repetitive, and we weren't born with it, so it's something that came on over a period of time of repetitive thoughts, and that becomes automatic. And it's the same with recovery. It's kind of doing the exact thing, but with useful and positive and helpful thoughts. When it comes to belief, just for them to have the knowledge base that they actually have control over, going, hey, you know what, this belief served me for 20 years or 30 years, and it's not of any use anymore, so why am I still following it?
It was the summer going into grade 11 that it really took a turn for the worst. And this was like the turning point for me, because at this point I was completely isolated. I stopped going to school. I pretty much had my mom wrapped around my finger in terms of needing to bring me certain foods at certain times. And if it was even the slightest off in the way that I wanted to eat it, I would throw a temper tantrum like a child. I was at like the sweet spot of control. And I was in my room, and I remember talking about wanting to be isolated and like being alone. And I was fully prepared to die at this point. I had given my mom a song that I wanted at my funeral, and I was okay with it because recovery seemed like so far out of reach for me at that time. And I had stopped going to McMaster, and I'd put together kind of my own treatment team between my family doctor, a dietitian, and then a therapist from somewhere else that I'd been working with very closely. I remember going to the doctor for my weekly checkup, and she had pretty much told me that I had about a week and a half to 2 weeks to live before my heart would give out on me, just based on my vital signs. And she had mentioned this place called Remuda Ranch in Arizona. And then I went to the doctors the next day because they called me, and she told me I was going. She had sent a 40-page request to OHIP for them to pay for me, and within a week I was in Arizona in rehab. And I remember before leaving, I was laying down one day. I can close my eyes and I can put myself exactly in that moment, and for the first time I heard a voice that was very different than the mean negative voices I had only ever heard, and it was this voice of hope. And I recognized it as Jesus' voice, and I had shut him out for so long that I forgot what it sounded like. And I was this lost sheep just looking for her shepherd. And he was like, I have a plan and a purpose for your life, and I love you, and I need you to fight. So I just need you to choose to live, because there's so much more for you. And so I don't know what in that moment, but it was this voice of hope, and I said, Jesus, I'm going to follow you, and I'm going to live for you. And so I decided to fight, And I would love to say that in the moment everything just was easy, but it wasn't. I just knew that that was the turning point, and that I, regardless of whether that the fear of giving up my eating disorder wasn't worth losing my life over.
I didn't want to be here anymore, and I mean, it still pops in my head. I'm still at that point where I'm tired. It's draining every day, and it's scary when I get those thoughts, but I knew I needed help. I couldn't do it anymore. I've been through the loss of a father that did this, that took his life, and the pain that my family went through, I think that stuck with me, just the struggle in itself. So I went to the hospital and I just got help. And when I started group therapy, I had that comfort that other people understood me and other people are going through it. And you know, the comfort within my counselors and just being able to just open up. I've never had a voice of my own my whole life. And I felt I am worthy. Here are these people that also feel the same way that I do. That whole mindset just turned, and now I'm so determined to just get out of this eating disorder and get Ed to get out of my head. And I want my life back. I don't want out of here. I think Ed has a lot of power when you don't open up. That's all you do have is his voice in your head. But when you open up, it gives yourself a chance to have your own voice. And you're going against what he says. It just allows your mind to just open up to something more than Ed. And I think more people should learn to forgive, not for the sake that it's okay of what people did to them, but more for them to be able to grow amongst Ed and be able to conquer him. I think it's a big part. With people telling me stuff constantly, you know, you hold this grudge, you hold it in you, and it's been living in me for 10 years. And now that I can just know that it's them and, you know, it's okay to forgive them. I sense this, I sense me. I sense Kayla's coming. This is, you know, you're starting to get better. This is your journey. This is, you know, it opens up this path that I never seen before. I felt I was so lost, and, you know, and being able to open up and let go of that, I just feel free.